What is up, guys? This is Linthio coming at you today with a very new, different type of video. So this is a new series that I'm just trying out, and it's called How To. So basically, how to play a certain deck or archetype. So this is just going to be a kind of different, as I said, video that isn't really going to be up that often. But if people do want me to do a certain type of video like this, do let me know. If it's a certain archetype. Please note that it'll only be archetypes or decks that I play, simply because it's very difficult to get, like if you want me to do a Haku Necros or anything like that, it's a lot more difficult for me to get my hands on the cards, because I don't really do kind of these DN type of videos where you have all the cards here and show them. I don't really like it that way. I like the physical cards being in presence. So yeah, so this is How To Skull Servant. So it's a bit of a different one, so we'll go through it. So if anyone has been watching my channel at any one point, they know that I love Skull Servant. The Skull Servant is a really fun deck, and a deck that I think is actually really, really underrated. It can have some very explosive plays, and there are a lot of different ways you can bring the deck. It's actually a bit of a difficult one to actually play and also to build, but I hope that this video will actually help with those inconsistency issues that you might be having or anything like that. So to start it off, the main core of the deck are these 5 cards here. First off, you have your King of the Skull Servant, who is your king, basically. He gets 1,000 attack for each Skull Servant in the graveyard, and also if it's destroyed by battle, you can banish a Skull Servant to bring it back. So he's your big beater. He isn't affected by Shadow Prisoner Mirror when he's summoned, because it's a continuous effect. His attack, so don't forget that. A lot of people try and catch you off with that. Very, very important to not actually be affected by it, because at the end of the day, some people will try and catch you out, and it just ain't gonna happen. So then going on to the vanilla, we just have this. This is just one of your Skull Servants. He's kind of the one that doesn't do anything, but he's actually very, very important to the deck, which I'll get to soon. This is White Prince. White Prince is a very important card, because when he's sent to the graveyard in any way, shape or form, you can send a Skull Servant and Lady of the White from your hands or deck to the graveyard, and then you can banish this and 2 other Skull Servants to special summon a King Skull Servant from your deck. White Mare, is actually one of the most important cards in this deck, and I feel that it helps with so many explosive plays, simply because its effect is you can discard it. It's also all of them are treated as Skull Servants in the grave, and you can discard it to special summon a Lady of the White or King of Skull Servants from your banish zone, or you can select when you remove from play Skull Servant or White Mare cards and add it to your graveyard. So at worst case, he is an extra 1,000 for King of the Skull Servant, and if you move one of them back, it's an extra 2,000. So it's very important. And then one of my favourite ones in here, Lady of the White, which absolutely helps with so many of your plays. Level 3 or lower, zombie monsters you control, except to serve, cannot be destroyed by battle and unaffected by the spell and trap cards. It's also treated as a Skull Servant. So that's an incredibly important effect, because it means you can happily swing into that back row with no problem when you have this King of Skull Servant. So these are the main 5 cards that you will be building your deck upon. In my opinion, the way to run the ratios is 3, 3, 3, and you can kind of play around with this, but the same ratio is normally required between Skull Servant and White Prince, mainly because you don't want to see more White Prince and then be short with Skull Servants in your deck and hand, because if you have 3 White Prince, you're only going to be able to get it off twice, probably, unless you spin stuff back to the deck, simply because you only have 2 targets of this. But Lady of the White is definitely a 3 of, in my opinion. King of Skull Servant is definitely a 3. And White Mare as well, because of so many plays you can do with him. He helps you out so much, simply because you can be reckless with your White Prince and use the effect, and then White Mare can bring stuff back, so you can instantly straight away move it to be a 2k, bring this back if you don't have anything else in grave. There's just so many different plays that you can do with it. It's very, very important. So if we stick to the core of the deck, there are a few cards that you should really consider if you're just building a pure variant. You see you have the different variants here that I think are the most important, but we'll stick to these first. So the important cards are Mathematician and Unizombie. These 2 cards here are very, very important, because they allow for precise milling of White Prince. Unizombie allows you to discard a 1 card to target level of any monster on the field and increase it, as long as it does have a level, so Xyz don't count. And it's also second effect is you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard to do the exact same, but only zombie monsters can attack for the turn. So you see, if you open up with these two in hand, you can straight away mill 2 as long as you don't get any problems, you know, anything going on. So Uni-Zombie is an incredibly important card. It came out in Secrets of something, Secrets of Eternity or something like that. I can't remember what it is now. But then the other one is Mathematician. Mathematician has the same function as Uni-Zombie, but in my opinion is a better first turn play. Simply because if you have a Uni-Zombie or a Mathematician in hand, you want to save the Uni-Zombie. You want to make sure that you can do some different tuner plays next turn, because it is a tuner. That's a very important thing. And with Mathematician as well, he's a little slower and he doesn't add that much to the deck apart from the precise milling. So the only real option to go for is the Mathematician in my eyes, because it simply means you can first turn mill, and if they do kill it by battle, then it means you get the draw. And then you can then next turn go into Beals, Void Ogre, or any other synchro plays. But these two are vital to the deck. Uni-Zombie is a must-have at 3 in my opinion, and again, depending on the variant you're running, but in my opinion, a 2 to 3 for Mathematician. Another one that I'm just going to go on to, which I think is actually a staple in this deck, is Mizuki, simply because of the precise milling that we have over here. Mizuki is a very important card because it means that you can bring back your Uni-Zombies for multiple plays. You can bring back your White Princes if you want to do a Uni-Zombie play. You can bring back your Lady of the Whites before you summon out the King of the Skull Servant if you're scared of the back row. It has so much utility in the deck, and with the addition of Burial and a possible Miracle Dig, it means that you can actually really push for game, and you can really make some explosive plays. And the important thing is Mizuki is a Earth, so if they have a Shadow Prisoner Mirror out, you can still banish Mizuki to bring back King of Skull Servants and go off with your plays. So that is the main kind of monster lineup that you're going to be using in any of the type of deck that you're going to be building, any variant. So this is, you could consider the skeleton, no pun intended. This is the skeleton of the deck, and it's something that I feel that you really need to stick to. There are possibilities of doing different ratios of these two here, the Mathematician and the White Prince, but I feel that the Uni-Zombie and these are the core that you really don't need to play with all that much. You can technically move the ratios of these two around, White Prince and Skull Servant. If you so wish, depending on if you're playing more of a mill version, you can up these to 3, or you can add this just to 3 and keep this at 2, because it means that you're going to basically get off White Prince's effect twice guaranteed, unless you're incredibly lucky. So if we go on to the important spells of this deck, in my opinion, they are these two. These should be run in basically every variant, and there is no reason, in my opinion, not to run these. Foolish Burial kind of fills the same argument and the same fundamental use as the Mathematician and the Uni-Zombie. It's a precise mill, and it means that you can put maybe the White Princes in grave. That's the first one you want to look into. Then maybe the Mizuki, or even any of the King's Skull Servants or Lady of the Whites, if you just want to get some of those dead draws out of the deck. If you've maybe already used White Prince, you've got a spare Lady in the White in the grave, you've already exhausted all your Mizukis, you want to think of how you're going to improve your consistency with the drawing. So getting rid of some of them is quite important, but it also means if you have any of these other archetypes here, you could maybe, especially with the plant variant, you will have a lot of choice to actually be able to go into. And Burial is self-explanatory. Being able to White Prince, go into a King of Skull Servants with 0 attack, dodging Bottomless and things like that, and then attacking and burialing, going back up to 3k is a very powerful play. And a lot of people get quite confused when you first do it against them, because they'll just think, well, you're attacking with a 0 attack, I'm not sure what's going to go on here. You Burial, and then they're like, oh, okay, I get you now. So Burial is a very important one. You play the maximum amount of this that you can, basically. I think maybe this might go up to 2 in the next couple of ban lists, depending on how Konami want to push Infernoids, how hard they want to push them. But nevertheless, and Foolish is just, you kind of want to run it at max as well. One that I do want to talk about is Miracle Dig. I know, Scrub not in the sleeve. Miracle Dig is, its effect is, if 5 or more of your monsters are currently removed from play, you return 3 of them. So it's a slightly more situational Burial, and it's kind of there if you want to use it, if you do a lot of very aggressive plays, if you want to abuse your Mizukis a lot, if you want to really abuse your White Princes, it is there for a reason, and you can use it in different ways. This would be good in a in the plant variant, in my opinion, simply because you are banishing a tiny bit more with the Spore and such, but nevertheless, Miracle Dig is still an interesting one, and always a good one that you actually want to look at. And then going on to the kind of the off skeleton, slightly a little bit more in choice, you have the virus cards. Virus cards are always going to be good depending on the format that you are in. And you've got Eradicator, Crush card, and Deck Devastation. Now, with the Errata on Crush card, it's not that great, but you pick and choose your matchups with this, and in my opinion, you side these two and you main this one. Eradicator is always going to be good, in my opinion, as long as spells and traps are used in this game. Eradicator is devastating in the right matchup. You can use it against Nukloths, and it can hurt them depending on the hand that they're doing, but don't forget they can just recycle the mirrors. Shadows, this is a big one. You can hit their fusions, and it's quite actually difficult for them to come back from that if you do hit them in the right sense. They also do use a lot of spells anyway. So Tellarknights, you can really hit them hard if you flip over that Eradicator on their traps and they don't have a stop to it like a Alpha. So that's really important. Crush card's really good against things like Quillfort that don't really gain anything from sending to grave, and Deck Devastation is one that is format dependent. It's normally against rogue decks that is the best one in my opinion. So these are all very important cards that you do want to use, and yeah, they are just ones that, again, to kind of your liking, you can do it however you want. So just going on to a tech card that you could choose. I've actually cut Zombie Master out of my build, but I'll just go through a little bit of reasoning why. Zombie Master is a great card at 2 or 1 in this deck. 3 is way too much because you don't really have that much rank 4 plays that you're going to be doing, but it's useful. It has good synergy with the Uni-Zombie. But Zombie Master is one of those that it's not your main concern of the deck. It's not the main reason that you're running this deck, and it can actually be a horrible draw at times. So it's basically down to testing this one. You use it as you want. Before I go on to the different types that you can run, 2 very important cards that this deck can go into is Void Ogre and Beals. Void Ogre is a very important card because it means that you can really splurge onto the field, have a Lady in the White and a Skull Servant and this on board with no cards in hand, and it's quite impossible. Quite an impossible field to break at times. It's sometimes too much. And Beals as well, just because depending on the matchup that you go up against, it can be important. So let's go on to these. We'll start at the top. For a speedier, possibly arguably consistent build of Skull Servants, you can have a rank 4 based build where you have these, and you also have the Dark Grepher, maybe not so much Dark Grepher, but Summoner Monk and Armageddon Knight. So the whole point of this is you summon a monk, discard a spell, go into Armageddon Knight, mill, you have a rank 4 play, then you can go into Lavarval Chain, and then you can ditch another White Prince. So that's basically doing the same thing as opening up a Uni-Zombie and a White Prince. So that is one play that you can do. Summoner Monk also means that you can bring out the Mizukis to do the same play, and then Mizuki can do his different plays and such. And Dark Grepher as well is just quite an interesting card that if you do want to run certain types of other darks, you want to add in, tech in some other things like Dark Zephyr or anything like that, it means that you can use it. So that is one variant that you can run. If I'm completely honest, if you want to go with this, you probably want to just use these two. Dark Grepher is great in everything, but it can be inconsistent. But Armageddon Knight and Summoner Monk are a great choice. The Lightsworn build is one that topped most recently, and I actually don't really like it. Lightsworns are great, but they are random milling, and random milling I don't think works with this deck very well. Now, it's not to discredit the person who actually did top with it, because I think he did very well, but I do think his build was a very strange and something that I personally wouldn't run. Lightsworns bring an element of speed to the deck that you probably won't see in any other way. Especially with if you just use the pure version, it's going to be a lot slower than Lightsworns, but with Lightsworns you run the risk of actually milling cards that you don't want to mill, like your Viruses, your very important Burials here, maybe even your Uni-Zombie and Mathematicians that you don't want to see, and there's also the chance that you mill your Lady in the Whites and your Skull Servants before the White Prince, and then the White Prince's effect is dead in hand when you actually get it. Obviously he's still alive when you put him to the grave, but nevertheless, it's kind of down to you if you like this build, because if you do want to run this, then you can use Chaos monsters like Chaos Sorcerer and also Blackluster Soldier, which are always good, but nevertheless, use it at your discretion, but I don't think that build is all that great. Finally, going on to one that is a new concept for me that I've been testing recently, and it's the plant variant. Now, on Pojo, I was talking to T-Rex, I think it was. Shout out to him. We talk a lot about this deck. this is the new variant that I've been kind of testing, and the reason behind it is Debris Dragon on its own in this deck is actually really solid. Being able to summon it, and the targets you have for its effect is 1, 2, 3, 4. Straight away you have then that you can bring back. You can bring back for level 5, which is Samaras. You can then use Lady the White for Black Rose. So Debris is one that's actually going to be going into my main deck because it's a really solid card. And then you have all the other plants. So you have Glow Bulb, Dandelion, and Spore. I've got one for one here because 1-for-1 can be used in a main deck anyway with just the main skeleton, but I don't really like it because there's only so many things that I do want to discard. The only things that I would want to discard technically are these, and I don't really want to do that all that often in the main one. But for a plant-based build, you have 1-for-1 and you can use it all that you want. You can bump up the White Princes and everything like that. So I'll put 1-for-1 down, that's the main one there. 1-for-1. Great here, but with the Spore, the Dandelion, and the Glow Bulb, you have more chances to discard. You can even up a Skull Servant White or both White Prince up to 3, and you can enter into a really heavy discarding based deck. Using things like Karma Cut and Phoenix Wing Windblast are also very important to use in this type of deck, simply because it works really well in my opinion. I've been testing it and been having a lot of fun, and it also means that you have more explosive synchro plays. You can go into Formula Synchron. The many times I'll have had a Glow Bulb summon, White Prince, mill with the Glow Bulb, go into the Dandelion, go into the Formula, draw, and also mill with White Prince. It's actually some really nice plays. As I said, with the Debris Dragon, you have a lot of synergy with these, and one thing that I haven't included here is Lone Fire Blossom. Now, Lone Fire is an important one that I just want to quickly talk about in this deck. Your normal summon is incredibly important because you want to either get the King of Skull Servant or you want to get the Mathematician or the Uni-Zombie off straight away. That's the main focus of the deck. With Lone Fire, all you're going to accomplish is summoning one of these, and in my opinion, it's not that great. Going into a Glow Bulb, great. Dandelion, great. Spore, great. You're setting up for next turn, but the fact is you're relying on a 4 or 5 card engine in the deck to keep you alive, whereas the main engine of the deck isn't actually being accessed all that much, if not at all. And that's why I don't like Lone Fire in this. And yes, Lone Fire is a target for Debris, but the fact that we've already got Lady the White is kind of irrelevant to the fact that Lone Fire exists. So that is kind of a in-depth-ish overview of the different way you can build Skull Servants. There are many different ways, as I said. You can use with the Lightsworn build, you can use different things like Galaxy Cyclones and breakthrough skills and all that. With the Armageddon build, you can have more rank 4s in your deck, in your extra deck, sorry, and maybe even with Dark Refu you can start teching in more things. Also, you can use the Dark Arm Dragon for this variant, and Dark Arm Dragon can be used in the variant anyway, but I feel that you would need to run a couple of these if you want to make it work better, because Dark Arm Dragon can be a terrible draw at times, or it can be an incredible draw. It's completely down to yourself, but at the end of the day, if you do use Dark Arm Dragon, you're probably going to be banishing these, which inflicts with this. So this is why I say you want to keep the Burial and the Miracle Digs, simply because you don't want your King of Skull Servants to be tiny, because if they do stop that dad, bad things are going to happen. So I want to know what you guys think. I realize this is like an 18-19 minute long video, but it's an interesting insight into the decks that I really like, and hopefully it gives you a overview of how to run a certain deck, or at least how I run the deck, and you can kind of build upon how you want to run the deck after that. So let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this how-to section. If you like it, give me a thumbs up please. I'm going to judge it on likes, so really appreciate it if you could comment and like, because as I said, it really helped me to do all of these different types of decks, and I can go on then and do maybe Herald or Yangzings or Infernoids, because I've got Infernoids back again. Yes, there will be a deck profile of that in the future. So yeah, it basically, any deck that I have on my channel, anything that I profile, is available for this how-to section and further on anyway. So as I said, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this. Like, comment, subscribe for the King of the Undead, and I shall catch you guys later.